weapons, Michael Flynn's encounters, which he lied to the vice president about. It goes on. We're focusing tonight on the latest, though. It's important to point out that, yes, this is what presidents do, meet with foreign leaders. However, what they traditionally do afterwards is not conceal the existence of the meeting while pretending there's nothing unusual about concealing it. What's also unusual, given the reported length of the meeting, though the president told the New York Times he thought it was only about 15 minutes, was that no other U.S. official was there, not even a U.S. interpreter was present. More from CNN's Jeff Zeleny, who joins us now. Put the fragment of a quote from Sarah Sanders in context, because it's a pretty bold claim to make.
Anderson, it's a bold claim to make, and it sort of is in line with what the White House was trying to do all day by, essentially saying that this was a normal meeting. This was something that was not a surprise. Well, the reality is that the White House only disclosed this last night, 11 days after that meeting, because it had already leaked out. It was not a normal meeting. They were having a dinner, but the fact that the president was there having dinner, sitting next to the Japanese prime minister, that's why the translator only spoke Japanese. He was not intended to speak with the Russian president that evening. They had spoken earlier in the day for some 2 hours and 15 minutes. And all eyes in Germany, I was there, were on that meeting. Well, it seems they still had more to talk about in the evening. But this is what Sarah Sanders said at the press briefing today.
They had a brief conversation, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of the conversation, but again, this was a social dinner where the president spoke with many world leaders, as is the purpose. I think it would be incredibly awkward for them to all sit at a dinner and not speak to each other, and I would imagine that all of you would agree with that. It seems silly that we would disclose a dinner that we had already announced he was participating in.
Now, it's not about disclosing the dinner. Yes, we knew that he was at dinner with the other world leaders at the G20 summit there, but it's the fact that he had a separate conversation that drew the attention of other world leaders there who were watching this sort of in awe that they were spending more time together at the exclusion of other allies here. But again, the White House would not say, Anderson, what they talked about during that meeting.
President Trump revealed more about what he said it was said in the meeting with President Putin and put forth a new timeline. Basically saying it was much shorter.
Right. In the interview with the New York Times, he said the meeting was some 15 minutes or so. I can tell you, Anderson, last night I asked top administration official if the meeting was an hour long, because that's what we were hearing from people who broke this story, and they said it was nearly an hour. So the president saying 15 minutes, nearly an hour. We do know that they stayed at the venue at that dinner until midnight or so, long after it was scheduled. So I'm not sure if the 15 minutes is accurate. We've seen story after story, not necessarily the real story in real time here. So regardless of the length of the meeting, and the White House would not tell us today the length of the meeting. We asked Sarah Sanders about that at that press briefing. She would not say how long it was or what they talked about. The reason this makes any difference, Anderson, is because there's no U.S. record of what happened at that meeting, what they talked about, and a translator. It was only by the Russian government. The U.S., it's highly extraordinary, unusual to have a conversation like that between adversaries without at least having a translator from your own government there to make sure things aren't mixed up, aren't confused. And that was not the case.
Jeff Zeleny, appreciate the update. Joining us now is Ian Bremmer, president of the Eurasia Group, who first revealed this previously undisclosed meeting, and Thomas Pickering, the former U.S.